together, don't wander off.
David Lammy chose not to talk about the wrongly released sex offender when asked about him in the Commons yesterday. Today, visiting the construction site for a new prison, he said he now had enough facts to discuss it.
We have found out that the release that has caused concern this week was actually before I introduced those checks just a few weeks ago.
Although Brahim Kaddour-Cherif was wrongly released from Wandsworth Prison on Wednesday last week, 2 days after David Lammy announced an immediate tightening of measures, it's believed the mistake that led to his release happened 5 weeks earlier, when the paperwork saying he should be detained was sent to the wrong prison.
All the balances and checks were in order on the day. We didn't have a warrant to hold that prisoner, and that's why he was released. So somewhere along the way, between Wandsworth Prison and the courts, we did not receive a warrant to hold that prisoner.
This is a paper-based system that obviously involves human error. We had 800 errors under the last government. This has now gone on for a generation. Our prison system is in crisis, so we have to bear down on this, but we have a mountain to climb.
Billy Smith, another prisoner mistakenly released from Wandsworth Prison this week, sentenced to 4 years for multiple fraud, today handed himself in at the prison door. For a while, the prison authorities seemed unsure how to deal with the returnee, but after a cigarette outside, he was asked back in. His case also seems to be down to a clerical error by the courts, but pressure on prisons is driving many mistaken releases. The prison population in England and Wales has been climbing for decades, and with the prison building programme never keeping up, the country's ended up with 64% of prisons either full or overcrowded. Durham and Leeds, the most overcrowded, and Wandsworth, centre of the storm this week, a close third, operating at 166% capacity. The prison building plan can't improve things fast, and some think the new early release reforms brought in by this government to ease pressure on prisons increases the pressure on admin staff who sign off on releases and makes mistakes more likely.
The risk of that is increased currently and has been for a period of time through staff shortages, inexperience, overcrowding in the system, and then the acute pressures that are caused by the early release schemes, which of course increase work exponentially over often very short timeframes for small teams that are already working beyond capacity.
Adding to those pressures, prison staff shortages have meant major recruitment abroad. The Justice Department is now pondering how it can make sure the government's own plans to cut visas don't hit a prison service already in crisis.
Well, our fact-check team has been looking at why there has been a surge in the number of prisoners wrongly released. Clearly, the whole system has got more complex as the government has brought in more schemes to deal with overcrowding. And one crucial area causing concern is prison staffing. In particular, a fall in the number of the most experienced long-serving prison officers. Our baseline here is 2010. That was the year the Conservative-led coalition came to power. If something goes above this baseline, it means the number is rising compared to 2010. If something falls below, it means that the number is falling compared to 2010. So first, here's what happened to the number of prisoners. You can see relatively stable over the years, but then it climbs. So as of June this year, 3% more prisoners than in 2010. But as you'll see, the number of prison officers does not keep up this yellow line. In fact, there was a dramatic fall in prison officers as the austerity years began, then a gradual recovery, but still in June this year, after about a year of Labour government, 9% fewer prison officers than in 2010. Lastly, let's look at the number of experienced prison officers. That's those with 5 or more years of experience, considered so important to the running of prisons. This green line, look, a huge fall in these officers during the austerity years, and it simply never recovered. By June this year, 42% fewer experienced officers than in 2010. It is a system in crisis. One of the biggest issues clearly is inexperience, and quite simply there's been a huge loss of experienced prison officers since 2010, and officers overall, even as the number of prisoners has gone up. Jackie.
Well, earlier today, I went to Market Harborough in Leicestershire, where the Justice Ministry is building the new prison to be called Welland Oaks in an attempt to ease the crisis in the prison estate. I spoke to the Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy and began by asking why he felt he didn't have enough information to share what he knew at Prime Minister's questions yesterday.
I first found out about this on Wednesday morning. I was in the department, both learning from officials, but also preparing for Prime Minister's questions. At the dispatch box, I did not have all of the detail. That detail was actually released just later, after I had finished at Prime Minister's questions. I took the judgment that it is important when updating the House and the country about serious matters like this that you have all of the detail. I was not equipped with all of the detail, and the danger is that you end up misleading the House and the general public. So that is the judgment I took. I think it's the right judgment.
A convicted sex offender on the sex offenders register is missing for 6 days, presumably with no one looking for him. As you point out, this isn't just about Parliament, it's about the public, isn't it? And the public had a right to know at least what you knew at that stage.
The public have a right to know the facts, and they found out the facts a bit later on.
But you knew a prisoner had been wrongly released.
They found out the facts a bit later on in the day. I said 2 weeks ago, 800 prisoners were released under the last government. We have seen a spike in the last year. And why is that? It's because our justice system is overheated. Our prisons are overheated and bloated. The last government cut our prison officers by 1/3. Our courts are overheated with huge backlogs. They're trying to process people, and the police are arresting more people.
We're here today to see, you break ground for a new prison, which won't come into fruition for a couple of years at least,
That's right.
if you are lucky.
That's right.
In the meantime, we're seeing Kaddour-Cherif, who didn't even run out of the jail. He was let out of the jail, potted around for an hour and a half, we're told, went back in for advice. The system is not just in chaos, it is farcical, and victims are rightly horrified.
In the last 2 months, I've asked for an immediate review on early releases. I'm sending in crack teams to deal with some of the technology issues that we're seeing in our prisons, because this is a paper-based system. I'm meeting with governors today. What more can we do is the questions. What do they need from me? What can I see from them? And yes, there have been 260 errors in release in the last year, and that's 260 too many, of course,
260
for
victims, or
and
many
we will
more
bear
victims,
down on
perhaps.
that. But we do have a mountain to climb. I have been in the job 2 months. We have been in government 16 months. We're building new prisons that will take time. We're investing in prisons that will take time.
And it is about victims having faith in you, your department, your government, the prison system. Tell me why, at this point, they should have any faith.
I think the government know that the prison system has been in crisis, and I think they probably recognise that this is a mountain to climb for a government. This is, in the end, austerity. This is what it gives you. It gives you a system that's creaking. Look at the statement prison governors put out today, where they talk about a historic situation where there has been chronic underfunding. These are good people working in our prisons to keep our public safe.
We have been looking at this over the last couple of years. Yes, with the last government, and now with this one. It is absolute chaos inside the system. Massive increases in drones, bringing in drugs and weapons, assaults on staff. The staff, you say rightly, are really working hard, are at a record high. What are you doing to fix those problems?
You raise violence in our prisons, which has gone up. In my first days in office, I increased body armour for our prison guards, and I increased tasers for our prison guards. That's what I'm doing with violence. On the drone issues, 40 million extra, 10 million to deal with anti-drone measures across our system.
Prison governors have told us it's not enough. Prison governors tell us they are being outrun by the criminal gangs inside prison.
And I'm meeting with governors today to speak to them about what more we can do. But I've got to be clear on with you, we have a mountain to climb. This is because of austerity. It cannot be solved in 16 months in office, and it certainly can't be solved by me in 2 months in office. We're building new prisons. 14,000 places we want to see by 2031, when the last government delivered just 500. So we are working to bring this system under control.
If I may, I mean, you cannot even staff the prisons that are already open. If you look at Wandsworth, where the 2 prisoners were released in error, just a couple of weeks ago, Independent Monitoring Board report said levels of staff absence were unacceptably high. A third of staff unavailable every day. Many staff who are being recruited are unsuited to working in a prison. Staffing is a massive issue which feeds into all of this. It feeds into the drones coming in, it feeds into the drugs, it feeds into the corruption inside the jail.
It does.
And all of that in the end creates more criminals and more victims.
Yes, it does. If you cut staff by a third, if the new staff have 50% of them under 5 years of experience, it does have an effect on the system. And I want to be crystal clear and honest that step by step we will attempt to bear down on this situation, but it will not be solved overnight. And you cannot eradicate all human error in a paper-based system that's archaic.
But does that mean more risk, more victims?
In the end,
you can't promise the public security, can you?
I can't eradicate error in a paper-based system. We have 260 cases a year. It is too high, and I want to see it come down. I'm taking immediate steps to reduce that, but you will have to judge this government over time.
New visa rules, we're told, could see thousands of people, mainly from West Africa, who are currently helping to shore up this system which is in crisis, being sent back, creating even more of a problem. Now, you're in a bind here, aren't you? You know, you want to look tough on immigration, but do you decide to stay tough on immigration with these visa rules, or look at a desperate situation for staffing and potentially thousands of prison officers who will have to leave?
Well, I'm in discussion with the Home Office about this very same issue. I want to thank the staff that have come into the system, mainly from West Africa, to support the system at this time. And of course, as you would expect, I'm in discussions with the Home Secretary about how we go forward. We do need new prison staff in our system at this time of acute crisis. And today's, you say, about a better justice system. Do you think you will stay in post long enough to deliver it? Well, I've been in post 2 months. The government will, the public must judge me on my actions. Our prison system has been underfunded for 14 years. Understaffed, violence up, harm up, all of those issues we will have to deal with over the coming months. David Lammy, Deputy Prime Minister, thank you for talking to us. Thank you.